First, let me begin by saying there are many stigmatizations and false assumptions regarding mental health. So let's start from the very basics of what mental health is and exactly what does it involve. Then we can look at why it is important to you as a minister of the gospel. So first, mental health defined is this. Mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, how we feel, and how we act. It also determines how we handle stress, relate to others, and make choices. Mental health is important at every stage of our lives, from childhood up to adolescence, all the way through adulthood. So why is mental health important for the ministerial family, you might ask? Think about the definition I just gave you. Mental health will determine how you handle stress. Number one, as one who has pastored and now has counseled ministerial families for more than a decade now, I promise you that you will have stress. So let me ask you this question. How do you handle stress? How you answer that question will determine if you will be in ministry long-term or quit within a very few short years in your ministry. Mental health also determines how you will relate to others. This is vitally important to note. A large part of ministry is connecting to your parishioners and the community around you. With poor mental health, how we relate to others can be more of a detriment rather than a blessing. Mental health determines how we also make choices. I believe we all can agree that decision-making is an important part of leadership. Therefore, if we're not mentally healthy, our decision-making will be prone to a variety of issues, such as being impatient, being impulsive, refusing healthy feedback, taking constructive criticism as being threatening, and even being prone to elicit a fight or flight response in us.
Hey, Lori here. You're watching content provided by DOE1. Whether you're at the beginning of your ministry or seasoned, DOE1 is the premier location for all things ministry. Check us out at doe1.org. Now let's get back to your video.
So how can we help others when we are living in daily torment ourselves? So how we think affects how we feel, and how we feel will affect how we respond to others. Good mental health is not only for those with a diagnosed mental illness, but also for those who have not been diagnosed mentally ill at all. We often assume that if one is in ministry, he or she will automatically be mentally healthy. That's a false assumption. We also assume that ministers will be healthy spiritually. Well, unfortunately, that is false also. It is important to note that spiritual health is not detached from our mental health. Taking inventory of our own mental health is essential to having a healthy relationship with God. So let's look at the pandemic for just a moment. It does not matter if you watch this during the pandemic or perhaps even years after the pandemic. This is a watershed moment that will have a long-lasting impact on our own mental health. Life will never be the same as pre-pandemic. That does not mean that every change afterwards must be a negative. ASA, American Psychiatric Association, defines mental disorders as this. Mental disorders are usually associated with significant distress in social, occupational, or other important activities. COVID-19 pandemic will produce significant stress, the precursor for mental illness. As a minister, it is important to note that mental illness does not discriminate based on your religion, age, gender, disability, color, race, nationality, financial status, genetic heritage, occupation, political ideology, marital status, or any other categories. In other words, being Pentecostal does not keep us immune from high anxiety, high depression, burnout, or any other mental health challenges that we may face. So what are some of the stigmas that we face as a church specifically? Here are a few things that we have a misconception about mental illness. Number one, asking for help with depression, anxiety, or any other mental health concern is often viewed as a sign of weakness. We are told, just be stronger. Depression could be viewed as a personal flaw, character weakness, or caused by a lack of self-discipline or willpower in some cultures. But let me say this, we cannot will ourselves to being mentally healthy. Number 2, we are told, just surrender to God. You cannot just pray away depression, high anxiety, or many other personal struggles that we have in our lives. Make no doubt about it, prayer is very important and should be part of the solution. But to assume it is the only solution is just not accurate, and I would go as far as to even say it's not even biblical. Number 3, we live in a culture of silence. This culture believes that any personal struggles automatically will challenge your calling, challenge your faith, challenge your leadership abilities, perceive you to be even weak, believe you show lack of faith in God and even in His power. Unfortunately, that's just the reality we're faced with today. But let me just say this. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. Asking for help is a sign of strength. It takes courage to ask for help. Galatians 6:2 says, carry each other's burdens, and in this way you will fulfill the law of Christ. So allow others to help you carry that burden in your ministerial calling.
Hey, Lori here. If you like what you were watching, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and click on the bell to receive notifications when new content goes live. You can find content like this on DOE1, the premier location for all things ministry. See you on the next video.